Okay, we are live right now, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much once again for joining us at another episode of Take 5 at 5. And today's episode is going to be part of this week's series, which is Meeting Leadership Challenges in Today's Robust and Challenging Times, or in Challenging Environment. And today with us, we have another very special guest with us, and he's going to be sharing with us on team dysfunctions and how to overcome them. So if you've just joined us, you've just come right on the dot. We've just started our live show at Take 5 at 5. We're already at episode number 22nd episode right now. And for those of you who have been always logging in and watching our Take 5, really appreciate your support, and comment down below. Let us know, whether, you're new here, you're the first time watching us, or you've been always following our Take 5 at 5, And also comment down below, where you are tuning in from, whether, which state are you from, I understand that currently everyone is most likely staying at home. So if you're watching from home, you can also comment down and let us know where you're watching from. All right, so bringing up today's topic, we want to talk about team dysfunction and how to overcome them. So joining me today is the senior consultant of THC Consulting, Sundram Berhad, and Wern. All right, so Wern, hi. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Jack. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for the invitation. Looking forward to sharing and also to to be with everybody today.
All right. So first, before we start, let us say hello. Wern, let's say hello to who has been tuning in, right? Let's take a look, Buxton, yeah, we have Buxton. Okay, hi, hi, Dr. Bucks.
Bucks.
V5 is tuning in, QB is with us. All right, so not much people, or probably I can see most of you who are very shy, who's not commenting. Don't be shy, just type hi, let us know you're watching. Because if you don't comment, we don't know you're watching. Okay, so let's get on to today's topic, this team dysfunction and how to overcome them. So Wern, probably how you want to start is, why is this topic so important in this current situation?
Yeah, thanks, Jack, for introducing and for getting me involved in this. I am looking forward to sharing some of the insights that I have. I think my sharing is mainly based on some of the experiences I had working in corporate, as well as basically working with my clients as a consultant in terms of intervening in their team issues, working with them to build their team cohesiveness. So I think what I want to start with is to talk about the importance of having good teams. I think this is a very important thing. So if you can pull up my first slide. We say that teams, if you really manage them well, they can be a very competitive edge for any organization. Now, according to Patrick Lencioni, who wrote the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, and he says that the single greatest advantage any organization can achieve is its health, right? It's health. And the thing is this, he didn't say advantage is strategy. He said the advantage any organization can have is health. And health has to do with how healthy is the team? How well is the team working together? Is it a cohesive team, or is it a dysfunctional team? All right, so it can be a competitive advantage, and yet it is ignored by most leaders, even though it is simple, free, and available. I think this is something I find as in my course of working with organizations. I find we use team as if it's a cliche. Everybody says, I want to have a better team, I want to have a good team, but very few organizations actually, place the priority and try to make the team work very well together, especially the leadership team. So this is where I want to open this session to say, actually, it pays to put some priority and time and effort and even money, to invest in your team and build the team health.
All right, it's very interesting that you bring up organizational health, especially during this time where a lot of companies are worried about the COVID-19 pandemics, and for companies who actually want to restart their business, and open their offices, they need to go through a lot of these, health regulation, whereby they need to clean a place, sanitize a place, 2-3 times a day, or probably any alternate days, right? But when you talk about the organization health here, can you elaborate more of what kind of organization's health are you talking about?
Yeah, healthy organizations, in at least in one definition of healthy organizations. Of course, I'm not going to talk about the other aspect of health. We're talking about the financial health, strategic health of how well your marketing and your other functions are. I'm talking about health in the organization in the context of the people in the organization. Are they engaged? Are they working well together? Do they feel that they are contributing well? And this calls for a good team. And many organizations, they think they have a good team, and everybody thinks, my team is good and fantastic and all that. But do you really have a team, or are we working with a group of people working together? That's the difference. A group of people working together to a common objective is what we call a working group. But a group of people that gels, that works together, trying to find the best way to get their objective, that's different. So do we have a working group, or do we have a real team in an organization? All right. So maybe I can share with you one analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can share with you one analogy. One of the analogy I can think of is, for example, in sports. We always say sports. There are many kinds of sports and many kinds of teams in sports. And let's say we say, okay, let's have a golf team, or a bowling team, or a swim team, or a running team. All right, these, we call them a team. But if you look at the way they play the sport, are they a team? Let me give you an example. A bowling team. What happens is each bowler will play his game, and they bowl, and then he has a score. The next bowler, so-called in the same team, they bowl their thing, and then they have a score. At the end, all the scores tally. You collect them together. We say it's the team result. Now, do they need to work together as a team? Or are they just a group of people doing their own thing and then adding up the numbers? That's one aspect. It's called a working group. That's a bowling, right? But a team sport is different. Team sports are like, for example, basketball, football, water polo. In fact, sports that concern balls like volleyball. These are team sports because rugby, yes. And they really need to work together very differently because they need to coordinate. They need to know, if I toss the ball or hit the ball somewhere or kick the ball, I make sure I have to be trusting and sure that my teammate there is going to catch it and he's going to do something with the ball. So if he doesn't catch it, or if he doesn't do it, then my whole team is going to be in trouble. I need to coordinate. I need to know that he's there. That's called a team sport. That's the difference between a team and a working group. Right, so that's the analogy I can think of.
I really like your analogy there. It's like just now when earlier you mentioned to me, like a lot of companies think they have a team, but do they really have a team? So I was start thinking, what are you trying to illustrate there? But when you share the example, it becomes very clear to me that there's a difference between a bowling team as well as a basketball team. So in both situations, they are still considered team, but the chemistry, and how people work together in that sort of different environment is totally different. And of course, something that we want to point towards is to highlight today's team is actually talking about those like basketball and all that. So maybe you want to ask the audience, those of you who are watching right now, right? So what kind of team do you think you are in right now? Are you working in, if let's say you are working in team environment, are you working, in your workplace environment? Are you working with a group of, bowling team or a group of, say, basketball team? Yeah, comment below. Yeah, bowling or basketball. Yeah. But then again, comment at your own risk. So your boss suddenly watch this live and say, why suddenly this guy, Jack, he comment why our company is bowling team. But then again, Nguyen, if let's say an organization working as a bowling team, right, it is still better than like no teamwork at all, right? So bowling team is not actually very bad, right, in a sense.
No, nothing wrong with being a bowling team. Nothing wrong with being a working group. Actually, it's okay because, for example, let's say we have a group of salespeople and we have, let's say, 5 of them. They are all salespeople. They have their own territory and products they sell, and they work individually. But together, if everybody does their part and be accountable for their own thing, if you add up the numbers, it should add up to whatever they need to do. Everybody is working towards something collective. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want, for example, the company may throw a challenge that says, okay, the five of you, I know we are running at, let's say, a hypothetical number, 10 million now, but I see the potential we can be at 20 million. Why are we not there? And you find that each of them individually, no matter how much they push as an individual, they can only get as far because we have capacity, individually. But if they pool their resources, and then and let's say the five of them decided, let's come together, let's cross sell, let's find a way in which we can come up with something different and new. Maybe you can collaborate on other things. Maybe the 10 million can become 20 million. You never know, right? That's playing a different way. That's playing in the team environment, but that takes a lot of challenge to work together as a team.
Right. So right now I want to put out a few comments from our audience. So first we have a comment from TK Chan. Yeah. TK Chan, very in Take 5 at 5. Thank you very much for your support, TK. So TK is saying the reason why the word team is used over the word group, because a group of people who don't work together is not a team. Wow, a very good, nice sentence here for us that really fit the title of our conversation here today. Next, we have one from Sengbi. Okay, different team contexts have different level of complexity and interdependency, and therefore requires different leadership role and integration. And I think that really fits into the question that we were talking just now, whereby is the organization working at the level of a bowling team or, at a basketball team? So which team is more relevant here, right? So teams coming together is about synergy, and many organizations have not optimized the team synergy effect. So operating at a bowling team level still works, but what we're trying to say here is that, if you can really maximize the team, you don't even have to add additional resources. Especially now during this time, a lot of companies are, freezing all the headcount. They are not hiring. But how do you achieve more? I think teamwork is one of it, right, Niven?
Yeah, I think to add to that, I think many organizations, when it comes to competitive edge, the baseline today is you must be smart, you must have the capability, you must have the right strategy. That's baseline. If any company don't have this, and actually in this environment, it's very hard to survive. But what sets better companies from others is sometimes you will notice, my course of working with organizations, those that sustain, that is, that in there for the longer term, usually, in most cases, they have a very cohesive leadership team. They work very well together. It's not easy to work in that environment because later I will show you why, why having a cohesive team looks easy and yet not so easy.
Yeah. All right, so that's where we want to get into the 5 dysfunctions of a team. But before that, if you are joining us right now, thanks for tuning in to Take 5 at 5. You're really at the 22nd episode today. And we're talking about team dysfunctions and how to overcome that. Right now, we are just getting into the 5 dysfunctions of a team. So, Niven, you want to bring us through what are the 5 dysfunctions of a team?
Yeah. All right, sure. The 5 dysfunctions of a team is laid out by Patrick Lencioni, who wrote the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. He is a consultant, but he's also one of those foremost in mentioning this. And he finds that teams, if you look at them, at the very heart of it, why teams don't work very well together is because they don't have enough trust. So if you look at the bottom of the pyramid there is the absence of trust. The team members just don't trust each other enough. And because they don't have that kind of trust in each other, it leads to the next dysfunction, which is called the fear of conflict. Because I don't trust enough of my team members, it's very hard for me to tell you I disagree with you. Even if I disagree with you, I will keep it to myself because I do not know whether if I say that to you, whether you will take me to task or you will have a different opinion of me or whatever. Yeah, that kind of fear. So fear of conflict happens. And because there's fear of conflict, people don't talk about their disagreements. Everybody just nod their head. But yeah, they agree in the meeting. But when they go to the toilet, they have a different kind of conversation altogether. I didn't agree with that. I didn't like that. But in the meeting, they never talk about it. That's because there's no trust. And because of that, they don't commit to the results. Everybody just commit to themselves. And then they avoid the accountability to get and at the end of it, there is an inattention to results. They don't focus on the result of the team anymore. It's about me and my own survival. So you can see that the 5 dysfunctions of a team means that the team that has all these dysfunctions, they normally don't maximize the team's performance at its peak. And at the very bottom of it is the very foundation, absence of trust. Without trust, you find that very difficult for any teams to go beyond what they want to do.
I see. So hearing you say that, right? So I start to, reflect back then when I was working in the corporate world, that, we always say that there is a meeting before the real meeting. There is the meeting, the real meeting. And there's always a meeting after the meeting, which is like what you mentioned just now, which is what we call you refer it to as a toilet meeting, whereby the real conversation,
toilet break,
real,
or tea break, whatever.
yeah, or some people call it the pantry talk or things like that,
Pantry talk, yeah.
Yeah. So as what you mentioned here, so on the surface level, things will look like very nice. Everyone is very happy together. But actually, what you're saying is sometimes we have to dig deeper to really understand whether an organization's team, their health level, whether it's good or not so good when it comes to the level of trust, how people are committed to each other and not just being just like a yes man, right?
Yep. Yeah, so trust here, I think just to clarify, it's not just the normal trust. We say, oh, I trust you, Jack, because you can deliver for me. You have done this work before. So if I give this piece of thing to you, I trust that you can get it done for me. So I'm talking about a different kind of trust, which is, if you can pull up the next screen, it's called vulnerability-based trust. Yeah, what do you mean by vulnerability-based trust? This trust is deeper than the normal trust we normally see. Level 1 trust is surface level. It means you can do the job. I trust you can do it. I give it to you. You deliver. I'm happy. I trust you. Vulnerability-based trust is where team members are genuinely open to one another about own weaknesses, mistakes, and shortcomings. This is being vulnerable. It means team members can actually come up to another person and say, hey, I don't have the answers. I need your help. Or he can actually go up to his team member and says, I seriously screwed up this piece of work. I made a mistake. All right. Or he can be as simple as, I don't agree with that thing you mentioned. I have a different point of view. Let me tell you why. And he can be very certain that that other team member is not going to, take action or view him differently or have a different kind of a gossip about him. That is what we mean by vulnerability-based trust. That is level 2 trust, higher level, which in my course of working with many people, it's a little bit harder to establish that kind of trust. The first level is a little bit easier.
I think you really touch on a lot of people's, or probably our audience experience as well. Because my own experience in the workplace, right, we really take mistake as something that is really bad. If anyone were to have any weaknesses, and if I were to show any type of mistakes, I'm really fearful that either my colleagues will judge me, my boss will look at me differently, and when you start mentioning about this vulnerability-based trust, right, it's more of like, for people to treat, for one person to treat another person as though they are another human being. Like, if I have mistakes, you also have mistakes. I have weaknesses, you have weaknesses. And when we acknowledge that, right, based on what you mentioned here, I find that when we acknowledge that every person also have their weaknesses and we have our own different strengths, and we come together, that's where the trust start to reinforce. Am I right saying that?
Quick example. Yeah, exactly. That's absolutely right. You hit the nail on its head, right? Let me give you one simple example. I was working with this client of ours, and they have a team of people that's comprised of very smart people, highly qualified people who come together and because they do very high level kind of work. And one particular incident, I remember this lady in the team, and she somehow habitually, continuously, will always tell the rest of the team members that every time of course, she's very smart, and also she's very articulate. She's able to put her ideas well, and most of the time her ideas are quite good. But the problem with her is she will tell them, look, any mistake or anything she did, it's never her problem. So she tell them, look, this is not my problem, it's your problem. And every time people mention something, she says, no, I don't think it's, and then she has all kind of justification that tells people, I'm right, nobody else is right. And because of that, in whatever meetings you have with her, nobody say anything. So she will give whatever ideas, everybody just say, okay, okay, okay. But at the end, when it comes to execution, most of the time, they do not really support her. How you know they don't support her? They will delay whatever request she make. They will, they will not openly tell her anything, because you know why? There's no trust. If I tell you, you're not going to take it positively. So because of that, there's no trust in that team. And that trust is being vulnerable. And if they're not vulnerable enough, everybody's protecting. Okay, if it's my problem, I better protect myself. If the other problem is not my problem, it's your problem, and so on. So that's called not enough of vulnerability-based trust.
Right. So the problem doesn't really come immediately, but most likely in the longer term, the organization doesn't grow, the organization doesn't innovate, it doesn't change and adapt to the what we call the challenging environment today lah. Okay, so right now we want to answer some questions from the audience. Yes. Jeremiah. Okay, how do we manage things when the leader or manager is one who doesn't trust the team? How do the team remove the manager then? Yeah.
Oh dear.
Interesting question, Jeremiah. How do you sack your boss?
Okay, how do we manage things when the leader manager is the one who doesn't trust the team? Well, I do not know what trust you mean by here. When you say don't trust, means either the leaders don't empower the team. It has a lot to do with the leadership style and comfort of the leader. Some leaders, their style of leadership is a little bit more what we call as pace setting. They like to take everything and do themselves. They do not want the team members to screw things for them. So they don't trust the team to deliver on whatever they want. So the effect of that is that the team members will feel after a while, hey, let's leave it alone. Whatever we do bare minimum. Anyway, he's going to take and do himself. So therefore, there's no trust in the team. So how do we manage things when the leader or manager is the one who doesn't trust the team? I think it's a different topic altogether. We need to manage the boss expectations and influence the boss, which is a different thing altogether. But if the team is cohesive, normally they can overcome this. However, having said that, in such team environment, in my experience, it's harder for the team to be cohesive because the manager himself is not vulnerable. So vulnerability, if you really want to establish, starts with the leader. The leader himself must be able to come forward and say, I don't have all the answers. I am here as part of the team. I would like you to come forward because you guys are working here long. You can support me in whatever it is. And he has to be vulnerable with that. If he's not vulnerable, he will say, nobody's good enough. I'm the only one who can do this. Then that's it. There's no trust. The team doesn't trust, As to so I think I answered that question. But I think the second question, how to remove the manager, I will leave that perhaps answer to another time. I'm sorry, this is a different topic. It calls for maybe a different kind of discussion.
Yeah. My answer to Jeremiah is now times are bad. A lot of people are losing their job, so maybe don't remove your manager first. Try to work on what Niven have shared with you. It's best learn how to manage him, because if you were to escape from this, right, what is the likelihood for you to change job or change a boss and have the same type of boss again? So it's better to learn the skill on how to manage the leader and whoever comes along the way, right? All of us in our line of work, all of us have bosses, no matter how high you go. So why not you just learn how to manage?
And one more point interesting is sometimes it's difficult to manage the boss, but we can still manage each other as peers. So sometimes it's maybe one or two of the second liners who take up the leadership role, even though they are not the designated leader, and start to rally the team around building trust with the team, peer to peer, without relying on the manager. Although it's, to be honest, it's very hard.
Yeah, but good point. So even if you are not the boss, you can step up to the game. So next question. May I assume the leader should disqualify the membership of a non-contributing team members? So
okay.
Interesting question. Come on, Neiman.
When you say disqualify membership, all right, maybe I can rephrase that. Maybe it's about removing non-contributing or manage them out. Yeah, I think if there are team members not contributing, it's up to the manager to decide whether he want them in the team. But this takes a different path altogether. Sometimes managing people out can be as simple as if they are doing something wrong, they're not performing. I don't want you to be part of the team. I remove you. But that is a manager's call. You can decide they are not contributing as part of the team. But then the team member, or in this case, the subordinate, can argue and says, "Look, I did contribute. I did contribute. I just like the example I gave just now about the lady who in the team. She says, I'm contributing. I'm doing what I need to do for the team. In fact, I am the one who bring in the investors. I bring in the numbers. How can you say I'm not contributing? I think what the team want from her is not about her contribution in that sense. What the team want from her is, can you sometimes admit your mistake? Can you sometimes just be a bit more humble with the team? I think that's the part that needs, So in order for us to make sure that teams are able to work in the environment, trust, I emphasize again, the trust in the team must be there. If there's a lot more trust in the team, sometimes people who are in this environment where the teams are very trusting, very close and all that, you find that after a while, people who don't want to be in that environment, they'll leave themselves. They are not very willing to be open and so-called vulnerable with the team. They themselves will remove themselves. That's just my experience.
Yeah, I think what you share is very interesting, because when you use that trust-based way to actually create the culture of the team, and the person who doesn't find the fit actually leave, that also help to manage the engagement of the people who are still staying. Versus if you don't like, and I just fire you, those the psychological factor of those people staying, right? They will look at the boss differently as well. Wow, just one simple mistake and you're gone, So that actually also decreases trust. Yeah.
So highly cohesive teams. Just one more thing, sorry. Just highly cohesive teams are normally, they're very interesting to work with, but you also find very you need to keep up to the stamina. That's what it means.
Require some stamina. Okay. Next question. What can HR practitioners do, or how can they train managers, team leads, and coach these people to show trust in their employees if there's unwillingness from them? Yeah. So knowing the 5 team dysfunctions, right? So what can we do about it? Yeah. If let's say I'm a team leader, or I'm a people coach, right? So what can I do as a practitioner?
A very, very good question, interesting question. Maybe I can go to the next slide, and maybe from there we can answer some of these queries, if you don't mind. So what can we do to train managers? I think what can we do to train them? There are many ways. You can train them how to lead teams better. You need a competency called team leadership. How do you coach people, how to be a better people and in the team. But I think I want to bring this up because this is an example of how we actually intervene in a very interesting environment. This team that we have worked with is a senior leadership team of an aviation company. And interesting is they actually have this top leadership team of the aviation company. They're all comprised of very senior people, very competent people. In fact, they are one of those that you have the best CFO, the best CHRO, the best legal and whatever not. And the only problem they have is they can't work with each other. The senior leadership team doesn't work with each other. So you have different camps in the organization. And what happened is the CEO wanted some intervention, and we went in to do some intervention. So we followed this thing called the Patrick Lencioni's prescribed here, overcoming the 5 dysfunctions of a team. And he says, one of the things to build trust in team is, first of all, you need to get to know your own team members. And the first one is we mentioned is called personal history exercise. Get to know team members better, understanding where they are coming from, their background, their history. And sometimes it's interesting when they start to share those histories. Then you say, oh, now I know why he is like this. Now I know why he's so self-conscious, or now I know why he's so cost-conscious, because he's always been poor in his life, right? So therefore he's very cost-conscious. So then we also do the next thing called the team effectiveness exercise. We put them together and we get them to share their personal histories, share about their experiences and so on. And interesting, the other 2 which Patrick Lencioni recommended is profiling and 360 degree. which we did with this aviation company. We actually did a 360 on all the leadership team, which is about 10 of them or 12 of them. We profiled them. We walked through with them one-on-one, and the 360-degree feedback actually gave a lot of revelations about what people see about them. And very interesting, some of them, they initially deny, say, I'm not like that. but then after probing further, it says, yeah, sometimes I'm like that. So it made them very vulnerable. Everything started to open up. All right. And after walking them through one-on-one, we actually put them in an off-site where we sat down with them, and every one of them get to share their experiences. We actually did an exercise called storyboarding. They actually wrote stories. What is a one experience your very, very, very good experience you have with the team? What is one not so good experience? And talk about those experiences. So from vulnerability, from the 360, we put them together and we, in a way, make them to be more vulnerable. Of course, we facilitated it, and it was very interesting. The session, some of them actually cried. They never know that actually all this while they have all this hatred in them, but when things are laid out on the table, cards are all laid out, everything is just open, and everybody just be very vulnerable. Never before a senior leadership team of people, 15, 20 years of experience in their life, they start to break down and cry because they really, really have to really, really work on it. Yeah.
I think sometimes this whole process is just to bring leaders of organization through, and just to remind them that we are all human, and we are working with another human beings. We are not all robots, And then when they start to realize, when they start open up, that's where they become human again.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, all right. So, these are the strategies to build trust in teams. Niven have already bring us through how to identify the 5 dysfunctions of the teams, and also he also shared with us these 5 strategies on how to build trust in your team. So, Niven, does these 4 steps that you've listed here, right? Does it need to be applied like the example that you give to us, all at one go, or you can start from somewhere,
You can start from anywhere, but to a word of caution, in my experience working with teams like this, the leader has to play a very vital role here. And I think any of these exercises that is recommended, if the leader does not buy in, sometimes the leaders they says my team got problem, I don't have problem. So that's a big problem. When he says that, it means that he feels his subordinates are not working well as a team. They need to buck up so that they can feed into his agenda. But a lot of time it could be he's the problem, because he's the one that is the bottleneck. He's the one that contribute to a very negative climate in the environment, and so he has to buy in. So if he buys into this exercise and he wants to do it, he has to take the lead and tell the team members, look, let's do this. I will be vulnerable with you first. I will tell you what I went through, what I went through even in my childhood, what I went through in life, some of the mistakes I made as a manager, and I will tell you openly, and the leader has to take the risk first. Yeah.
All right. So in the interest of time, we already at the end of we already crossed the 30-minute mark. So Niven, very quickly, if there's one key message you want our audience to take back today, what would it be?
Oh well, I think if there's one thing that I feel leaders need to take pain to basically put priority in building the team. I think we feel sometimes teamwork or team building, a lot of time we put them through team building exercises. I mean, not wrong. Those team building exercises, take them offsite, do a bit of team building activities. Those are important to bond them, to gel them. It's important. But beyond that, I think we need to also pay attention to what is contributing to our dysfunctions. And sometimes these dysfunctions are not so apparent because everybody is very nice to each other. We call it artificial harmony. So if we can break that, we can build the trust, and we put in the effort and make that a priority, then you find that the teams, in the long run, they have this competitive advantage. The competitive advantage is they are more resilient, especially in times like this. Normally, teams or organization with teams that are in very difficult situation, they are able to weather through it together somehow. Yeah, nobody is going to say, so the leader can say, okay, let's do a bit of pay cut or whatever it is. Everybody will have to say, oh, I disagree, I agree, whatever. But at the end, everybody will commit to it. So if there's one last thing I can say, in teams, if you want the team to be really cohesive, don't agree. Right? You should disagree with a team member, but after disagreeing, after talking what you want to say, commit to the team. Right? A lot of people agree and don't commit. So you should do the opposite. Disagree, but commit. Right?
All right. Thank you very much, Steven. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for the very good sharing. And today's session, we are already at the 22nd episode, and we are talking about team dysfunctions and how to overcome them. And Steven have just finished sharing with us all the wonderful tips and also the strategies that you can apply in your organization right away after this. If you just missed this, if you just join us, don't worry. After this, you can just click replay, watch the replay. And if you want to know more, about overcoming team dysfunctions, you can contact Niven after this, right? You can, text him. His number is on the screen, or you can email him at Niven at totalhc@totalhc.com.my. All right. So thank you very much once again, Niven, for joining us and sharing such a wonderful tips with us. And for the audience, tomorrow we have another episode of Take 5 at 5, and our guest speaker will be Tan Huat Chai, the partner of PHC Consulting Cerebral Heart, and the session will be hosted by one of our previous guest speaker. Now she came in as our guest host, Mian. All right. So remember to tune in tomorrow, same time, 5 p.m., same place, right? And thank you very much again for tuning in, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.